Welcome to today's interview. I brought on Marc Siegel. Marc, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Heather. Great to be here.
Give the listeners a little background. Where do you live and what do you do?
Absolutely. So I'm going to save everyone's time that I can sum up 20 years here real quick in a few minutes. I used to be in finance for a decade from New York. You could tell by the Staten Island accent. Found that it wasn't fulfilling or rewarding and moved to Florida, became a personal trainer. After 11 years of that and taking 10,000 pounds off of people cumulatively, starting with myself, 65 pounds in 4 clothing sizes. Entered into the world of Tony Robbins, which I know you're familiar with and we're all familiar with. And I quote, "That's great, Mark, but how are you going to save millions of people?" And I was inspired to start a CBD company. And about a year later, it was launched, active in 10 states. And now I serve more people and help them in the past year or so than I have in 10 years of personal training. And I'm here out of Jupiter, Florida.
Well, and what I love about anybody who is new to Tony Robbins community, because when I meet somebody and they're like, "Tony, what?" And I'm like, "Where do you live?" But what I love most about the Tony Robbins community, and I've had many people on my podcast from there, is it's like a family, and you build the community and the growth mindset, and you want, everybody raising together and doing things with life. So what do you, because you've been to many events, why do you keep going back?
So it's funny, someone asked me that this morning, and there was some chatter going on the Comeback Challenge page about how many events have you gone to and why do people keep going? My answer is very simple. Every single event I go to, I pick up something new, whether it's just a belief, a philosophy, quotes, an initiative. Forget about the relationships. I mean, I don't think I've left a live event without making dozens of new friends that we talk to almost daily. And as I was telling you earlier, we have a little chat group of about a dozen of us. We call each other in the morning after we prime. We pump each other up. We're there when they're sad. We're there to help with business. We're there to help personally. So yeah, it's a community like no other, and grateful and blessed to be a part of it. So yeah, everyone do it.
What I want to touch on there is accountability and community, because a lot of people think I can do this on my own. So what would you say to that?
As far as accountability and community. So as far as community, I'll work backwards, jump in the pool. As I said, don't stick your toe in, go in the deep end. You will be surrounded and wrapped by love and inspiration and motivation, and everyone's here for you. Now, with that said, moving into accountability, it could all be love and hunky-dory and happy family, but at the end of the day, you have to be held accountable to do things. What I have found been super effective is we have within our little community, we have groups that we have accountability partners. So we would go on a call and say, by the end of the week, I want to change the labels for my company, revamp my website, and start a podcast. And 5 days later, my accountability partner comes back and said, "Mark, well, what did you do?" "Well, we worked on the labels and we did the website, but the podcast isn't ready yet." "Why is the podcast not ready? What did you do to get the podcast ready? What did you not do to get the podcast ready?" And sure enough, I heard it a little bit from my own accountability partner, who I asked to be my partner. And then a week later, my podcast was launched. So yes, you need accountability, and I highly recommend it in a group setting. And then even take that group into a subgroup and get some accountability partners, and it'll be a game changer.
Yeah. And I'm in my own mastermind. We have calls every single week and talk about accountability, because otherwise a lot of people, when you fall off the wagon, they don't get back on. And having that accountability, whether it's a coach, a mentor, mastermind, your partner, whatever, that person's job is to keep you going.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so crucial. And, it doesn't matter if you have one business or you have 5 or 10, I have an interesting group of people, from people that are unemployed up to that are 8 figures in our group. And what's universal to all of it is they all need the accountability partner, even from the one who has no money to the one who's on his 9th business. Even the guy with the 9th business, sometimes he just says, "Hey, I don't know this angle. I don't know this industry. Maybe I'm looking at it through a different lens. maybe I need a female lens, maybe I need a younger lens, maybe I need an older lens, and having those different lenses is paramount.
What advice would you give? Because we all have limiting beliefs and we all have some sort of form of self-sabotage. So
Mm.
what do you give advice to somebody who, whether they're aware of it or not, how to overcome the procrastination excuses and what's holding them back in life?
Absolutely. So procrastination, and I spoke about it on a video a couple of weeks ago, is one of the worst things you could do. I've been there. I've done it. The time is now for everything. I'm not going to sound cliche, but tomorrow's not guaranteed. And, it's funny. People live basically that I know you either live in the past, the present, or the future. And I like to live in the present. Some people disagree. They like to live in the future. I think that's great. It's great to have goals, but you need to work on the present to get to that future. Living in the past, well, that's just not going to serve you or anyone. But going back, I think people's biggest problem that I see on almost a daily basis is they are focused on the how and not the why. I learned way back when I was in finance for over a decade, and I quintupled my book of business, and it was into 9 figures. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't fulfilling. So I moved on to personal training. And when I was in personal training, I realized that my why was to help people. Our country is almost 70% overweight. And I felt better helping a mom post a few children, a dad who just was lazy and never got off the couch, a child who had pulmonary issues and now we can help his breathing. So I wasn't focused. I mean, look, back then, going back to day one when I became a trainer, I was a fat banker learning the process. And, who wants to go out and hire a fat personal trainer who just started the business? So I had to work on myself. And I took the 60 pounds off, and I took the 4 clothing sizes off, and I got 1 license and 2 licenses. And next thing you know, oh, this guy did it to himself. And I was on stage per se at the gym. And then someone told their friend, and then I trained her girlfriend, and then I trained the son, and then I trained the father. And next thing you know, I didn't have a strategy. I didn't have a business plan. We didn't even have Instagram and TikTok. And I mean, we had Facebook, but we didn't really use it for business. So all I was focused on is the why. How am I going to help people? How am I going to change people's lives? How am I going to make people feel better? And the how just happened. And next thing you know, I'm doing it 10 or 11 years and took 10,000 pounds off people. So the biggest thing I could say is really search in here. And when you find what's in here that you love and that can add value and help people, just go ahead, hit the gas, jump in the pool, go in the deep end, whatever cliche you want to use, go all in. And trust me, all the other minutia will work itself out.
Okay, so I have plenty of questions for you. And this topic, I think, one is so relatable and everybody can understand and the metaphors. But to have a personal trainer, they can tell you the what you need to do. But for your clients, was it limiting beliefs they needed to let go of? Was it their negative narrative? What was the real issue on why they were overweight and unhealthy?
So out of a decade, a few states and all that, I think the number one reason is self-doubt. I mean, let's call it what it is. I love when people during COVID, they've been asking me, I haven't been training and, all right, Mark, what do I do? What's the secret? How do I do it? And after a decade of this, I could say, I'm going to save you about $10,000 a year right now. Get a food scale, measure your food, eat decent, drink water, go to the gym 5 days a week, get recovery. It'll work. And what I found is I've trained hundreds and hundreds of people that knew this. They were ex-athletes. They were jiu-jitsu, martial arts, triathletes, baseball, football. They knew how to do it, but they needed someone to reinforce it. They needed the accountability partner. If you want to go back to I think it was a stretch of, I don't remember exactly, but 5 or 6 years in a row, Idea Fitness, which is this large organization, they did surveys on what was the top 5 reasons someone hired a personal trainer. And for 5 years in a row, at one point, it was for accountability. They knew what to do.
Yes.
Like, look at, you go to the gym now. I mean, I hate to say it, but there's a little diagram in 3D and videos, and it shows you what to do, so get there. The bigger problem was for the client to get there. When I have people that tell me, Mark, I spent $1,000, $1,200 a month, so that's why I'm here. If that's why you're here, because you put the money out, you're missing the whole point. You should be here because you want to be better for yourself. You want to be better for your significant other. You want to be better for your kids. Like, I knew I wanted to be that dad who plays pickup games in the park when I picked up the boys from school, and I was. I still can remember walking into a schoolyard in Staten Island, New York, before we moved to Florida. And I would say, hey, there's a ball over there. Why don't you go grab a few kids? Next thing you know, it's like 7-on-7 ball in the middle of the field. And I'm the only dad there. I'm like, where are the other dads? Where are they? They can't. They're not in shape. They can't make it. So yeah, you need the accountability. You need the mindset. And I think the number one reason that people didn't get it done was their own limiting beliefs, and they were their worst enemy, and they just stopped themselves.
So 100%, and I can give you countless stories behind that, especially with entrepreneurship, you know the basic strategy and structure. You need automation, you need systems in place. And somebody wanted to business and partner with me on it, a coaching side of business and mindset. And I was like, that's cool. We can give you all the sequencing and the strategy and the systems and the how to, but if you don't have the mindset and the beliefs behind it, the confidence, the knowing, the certainty, the faith that you can have the vision you have, then the systems and strategy don't matter. So just like with the gym thing, they knew what to do. They knew the food, the nutrition, and the movement, but maybe they didn't have belief of self-worth or whatever it was. So on that note, especially going back to the focusing on the why, why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want more money? Why do you want to be in a relationship? For example, I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who he's in his own, I think he has finally hit his rock bottom. And my note to his was, this is a good thing because you can only go up from here. Like, so
Right.
don't wallow in the self-pity. Like, you hit rock bottom. And
Yep.
ultimately, he wants to be happy in a relationship. And so my message was, he knows the what, happy and in a relationship, but why does he want that? And so letting go of the how am I going to meet that significant other? Number one, you need to be the best version of you to attract that mate.
Bingo.
And I could go on this tangent forever because I love talking dating and relationships and, the process I went through to finally attract that guy that I had been seeking. But you got to point the finger inward. It's not the external conditions.
No, absolutely. And I could say, as someone who I've been together completely with my wife for 24 years now, married 16, together 24. And I've had phases where, listen, it's work, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And you need to work on yourself, and you need to actually, and there is no and you need to, because let me tell you this, what happens is a lot of people in relationships tend to say, she does this, she says that, she's wrong, she's the one. Yeah. Guess what about you?
Yeah.
I've had things like that even after dozens and dozens of years. And I still remember going back to one event where I was actually blessed to have a nice conversation with Sage Robbins. And I was kind of talking a little bit about my wife, and, she's like, honey, what about you? And we went into a whole thing about me and just let it all resonate. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, wow. So even people like myself who do the priming and do the rituals and have the mindset and the gratitude and all of it, you need a reminder sometimes. And I like to add to anyone watching this, again, it's work. And if you find yourself in a rocky point, don't look to place blame on others. Don't look to change your other half. You know, they say your better half, your other person. Work on yourself,
Yeah.
bring yourself to the A game, as I like to call it. Your other half will sense it, will feel it, will know it, and that will by default bring you closer and raise your game together as a team.
But Mark, it's so easy to point the finger that it's their fault. And if they would just stop doing that thing that annoys me, then it would be okay.
Right. But guess what? Maybe if you worried about figuring out what you were doing that annoys them and you stop doing that thing, that would be easier. Like, I know sometimes it's stupid. Like, we laugh in my house, you know, check the washer and dryer always. Like, we have two boys and we're in Florida and lots of towels in the pool and swimming and showering. And just something so simple as, you know, now, you know, once in a while, like, what is the one thing when we talk about the events, we say, hey, honey, do you have to pee? And the guy says, no, and keeps driving. You know, that was your wife's nice way of saying maybe you should pull over. So when I hear my wife say, like, hey, is the towels in the dryer? Are the towels in the dryer? And then I started saying no. And then, okay, well, maybe guess what? The next day, I started checking and I kept checking. And now I don't have to be asked. And guess what? It's something so simple, guys. And again, I don't mean to say this to guys, it could be the girls and reverse it. But how hard is it to move towels from the washer to the dryer and turn the knob? If that's going to make my wife a little happier and that's going to make for a better day. And what people, I think, don't realize is the chain effect with all of these things.
Yeah.
Because if all of a sudden, just from that little action that took 30 seconds, now she's having a better day, which means I'm having a better day. My kids are having a better day. And then her coworkers, she'll be nicer and in a happier mood, so they'll have a better day. So you could affect 6 people with a 30-second action.
But on
And
that note, do you think it's because it's a partnership and it's looking out for the other?
oh, of course. Listen, I also, you know, will flip it around. You know, there's certain things that I get perturbed by. And after you're together, you start to learn what perturbs you. And she knows that if I'm going to, you know, I'm trying to think of something random like putting the soap pumps. I know this is so silly, but like I have those extra soap pumps that are in the counter and she puts them sometimes in the sink with all the dishes. And then every time if I come back from the gym, I'm like, where's the soap pump? Where's the soap pump? It's right there. But guess what? Now she knows, put it 4 inches over outside of it. So it's not on top of XYZ. And something so stupid like that has made it where I come back from the gym. And now, especially, you know, in COVID times, everyone's like, wash your hands, sterilize everything. So as soon as I run home, I'm like, where's the soap pump? Now, soap pump is always there. So that makes me happy. And what did that take? 5 seconds, not even a second. And I think if people are conscious and aware of that, they'll be much happier.
You know what else I'm realizing and experiencing? It's all about your delivery. Because if I come across in a nagging manner, I'm going to get a
Yep.
different response of, hey, do you mind doing blah, blah, instead of, how come you never do? So,
Right.
men and women, please just pay attention to your delivery.
Yes. Delivery is huge. Tonality, you know, I hate to profile, but not even profiling, but you know, sometimes you come back from the gym and you have the pre-workout and you have your coffee and you're all hyped up and on fire. Probably not the best time to deliver messages to your wife. You
No.
know, unless it's I love you and you look great today, or those shoes are awesome, or your hair looks good. You don't want to get into arguments or negative things when you're in a hyped up state like that. So that's really important too. I think people don't realize, know what state you're in mentally before you open your mouth, because it can get you in trouble.
Something you briefly touched on that I want to dive into is this whole aspect of gratitude. What does that mean for you and why live with gratitude?
Yes. So I'm going to say that, to be perfectly frank, I think I've lived in more gratitude in the past few years than I have in over 4 decades. And I want to, again, thank Tony Robbins for that and Sage Robbins for that, because, you know, I look back now when I was in finance. I'll even take it before that, even growing up, you know, I wanted this and I wanted it now. And if I didn't get it, I was mad. And why me? And why can't I have it? And why does my friend have this car and I have that car? And why does this family go on that vacation and I go on my vacation? And da 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 da. And I did it all the way through. And I did it in finance. And then it was just bigger things and bigger toys. Okay, well, I got myself a Breitling. Well, why did my friend get the presidential Rolex? I bought myself a Lexus. And well, why did my friend have a Ferrari? And, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And finally, I look back now and I love the quote, when you trade your expectations for appreciation, that's when it all clicks. And the all clicks parts after. But, to me, it was a game changer. Now over the past couple of years, I'm grateful that I'm alive. I live in a beautiful home. I live on a lake. I have a couple kids, a dog, 2 cars, the wife with a great job. Where I serve people. I help thousands of people all over the country. What's not to be grateful about? And I think people who are constantly comparing to others, chasing others, listen, I'm not going to sit there and say it's evil, to look for material things or you want things. But, on that note, I've learned over the past few years, I've had better experiences and more gratitude from vacations, events, milestones, things that happen more than I got the new watch, I got the new outfit, I got the new sneakers, I got a new computer, I got to have another phone. I need my 7th version of whatever phone is it. Why? Why do you have to have that? I am happy that I have my eyes, my legs, my body, my health, my breath. I take it really seriously. As someone who lost my younger brother 5 years ago, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And you need to live for now. And I wasn't always living for the now. I was always chasing and chasing and chasing. And I think when you're constantly chasing, you don't even have time to feel the gratitude. So in summary of all of that, whether you make no money or you make hundreds of millions of dollars, we all know those people who make a ton of money and they're freaking miserable every day. Always, God damn this. I know a guy, I'm leaving him off, 25,000 square foot house, 5, 6 cars. Really, what are you so upset about? You have your health, you can walk, you have a wife, you have kids. What is so terrible that you couldn't get this other version of the release car, that someone outbid you on a boat? Really? These are your problems? There are people that can't even have food. They have nowhere to sleep. They have nowhere to live. They're dying. So in summary, because I could talk about gratitude forever, embrace it. Really, people, I'm not trying to sound all, what do they say, we're woo-woo about it, but it's reality. When you trade your expectations for appreciation, your life will never be the same.
Something you just shared, and it took me back to a few years ago, always chasing. I caught myself literally, and this is how bad it got, always chasing the next instant gratification.
Yep.
I would be on vacation planning and thinking about my next vacation.
Right.
Gross. And I remember Oprah literally in elementary school, so I was probably 8 when I started this. I've done a gratitude journal and gratitude practice every night before bed, I think seriously since I was 8. So just, a couple of years. But I think of 5 things from that day for which I'm grateful for. And it can be things like, oh, I'm so glad the sun was shining today. Or it was so great to hear from that friend, a cup of coffee, whatever it is. I find 5 things, and gratitude turns things around. So again, somebody I was talking to yesterday tell me about how bad it is right now, just how bad he's doing. And after he got off, he was done rambling about how bad it is. That is exactly what I asked him. I said, tell me something you're grateful for. Just one thing. Just tell me something good in your life. And the second he named one, he named 5 right after it. And I was like, see how easy that was? When you change your focus to what's going good, you can actually find a lot of good.
Where focus goes, energy flows.
Yes.
So, you want to focus on the negative. I tell the story all the time to sum up my whole COVID experience. I just come off of 6 weekends in a row of some serious traveling all over the country for business and Tony Robbins events and plat parties and business. And then all of a sudden, I still remember the week before, my kids were like, Dad, every weekend you're in LA and Vegas and Texas. And then how about you stay home a little bit? Well, guess what? 3 days later, when I got home, boom, Daddy's home. So, in the beginning, it was like, it was welcome almost. I was like, this is great. We can go to the pool, we can go away, we can go out to dinner. And we spent a lot of time, and then everything shut down. And, the question right there was, do you roll up in a ball and cry and woe is me and watch Netflix all day and night and say like my other friends, well, COVID's doing bad for everyone, so it's okay if we all do bad. No, it's not okay. Because guess what? COVID's still going. So it's not March anymore. It's July. And I have some friends that are still like, yeah, once this all wraps up, everything's going to get better. What if it doesn't wrap up for another you want to spend 3/4 of 2020 in misery, or are you going to pivot? And we spoke about that many times, and without going on a tangent, you just have to adapt and pivot. And if you really dig into your gratitude, really remind yourself of your why, and then you'll go in there and navigate, and you'll figure out the how. And then all of a sudden, you won't be so miserable, and you will be more successful, and you'll be happier, and you'll be able to serve, and you'll be able to do charity, and you'll be able to buy nice things, all from it's just the beginning of the mindset. And yeah, mindset, that's a whole other conversation. I prime daily. I meditate probably 4 or 5 nights a week, even for just 20 minutes. If you don't get your mind right, to me, I don't even get out of my bed until I prime. I don't care what's going on. And everyone's like, oh my God, you listen to the same thing every single day for 2 years straight. So what? What do you mean? When I'm sitting there thinking of what are the 3 things I'm most grateful for, and I do that every single morning, when I walk out of my room, I like to say, I want to coin this, I make a happiness buffer. I walk out into my house at like a level 14 on a 10 being the happiest. So if like all of a sudden my kids are arguing, I'm like, okay, 13, 12. And then, if dog's barking or wife's a little snippy, 11, 10. So guess what? By the time I get to my car and go to wherever it is I'm doing, I'm still at a 10 when most people are at like a 5. So get your day started right, get your mind right, get your gratitude right. And I think you'll have a much better day and a much better life.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. So then question for you, what is one key takeaway you want listeners to get from this conversation?
Wow. I think out of all of it, the most important is focus on, well, it's almost a twofold. I want to cheat a little. It's you have to find your purpose, which kind of is like your why. But sometimes it gets a little different, because that is the first thing. You could read every book and go to every seminar and learn every, note and whiteboard and vision board and all of it. But if you don't know what you're going for, you're lost. So that's the half a part of it you have to have. But once you do have whatever that purpose, like my purpose is, and you've probably seen some of the t-shirts I wear, they say my purpose is to help heal the world one person at a time. That is my purpose. I wake up every day and I say, how am I going to help heal the world? And I'm going to start with one text, one email, one call, one sale, anything. Now, with that said, the moral of all of that, to shorten it, is you must focus on that purpose or that why and not the how. There are so many people that are listening to this, watching this, that are like, you know what? Oh my God, I've been thinking about starting this business for like 4 years now and I never did. Why? I don't have the money. I don't have the experience. I don't have the resources. I don't have the support. You have all of it. You just have to figure out how to leverage it, how to pull it out of you. Go to people that can help you. We're in a community again of people that do every job, walk of life, race, color, creed. You could connect within our own group of people that were in our circle, and they can help you with the how. So find your why / focus on your why, and everything will happen. That's my biggest takeaway for all this.
My only quick note on that is, yes, most people get hung up in the how, so they don't even begin. And for me, I've realized when I'm clear on the what and the why, I don't I don't pigeonhole myself into one way, the how it's going to happen, because that's when I believe you limit yourself. But when you know the
Yes.
what and the why, and you're open to allow
Mm-hmm.
the how to show you the way, that's
Mm-hmm.
when things for me have happened extremely quickly, better than I expected. And all I had to do was know the what and the why.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you did it. And kudos to you for 251.
Yes.
Just had to throw it out there. I'm super wowed by you. You are a prime example of your why. You want to add value. You've added value 251 times now. And may you have zeros added onto that. And I applaud you for that. And again, everyone listening, you didn't like wake up 5 years ago and say, I'm going to do hundreds of podcasts. I'm going to help add value to everyone. It came to you.
Yep.
And now look what you're doing.
You're right.
So again, you don't have to go much further than this call to the two of us. And if anyone wants to talk further on that, because I could do this for days, find me. You know where I'm at, and I would love to help.
Well, and I'll include all of Marc's contact info at the bottom of the blog. So on that note, Marc, a couple questions to wrap up the
Yep,
interview.
absolutely.
The first one being, what is a quote or motto that you live by?
Woo. All right, so I did a lot of quotes already, but so now I better think of a new one. If you can't, you must. That's one of my favorites. I'm a very stubborn, you know, if I can't get it right away, I'm not going to roll over. I'm going to keep doing that until I've exhausted every possibility, every angle, every option. Don't give up. Just don't quit. So yeah, if you can't, you must. I think that's one of my favorite quotes.
Love it. What is a book you're currently reading or highly recommend?
So I just finished, what was it? Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill again, because I read it many moons ago. And, I think certain people we know read it 12 times, and everyone I know reads it a lot. So I just finished that and passed it along. And now I just started, I think it's called Outwitting the Devil, which is
Yes.
actually Napoleon Hill. I'm literally like
So
15, 20
good.
pages in, never read it. And everyone says, I still can't believe that book was hidden for like 70 years or so. And then finally they just released it because the original family, I believe, felt it was a little taboo with the devil and whatnot.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's really relevant, and it blows my mind how 75 plus years later, it's so relevant. So yeah, I can't wait to report back, but I'm loving that so far already.
Agreed. And for those, again, the title is Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill, but it really just talks about drifting and mindset and your focus on, and how Abraham Hicks says it. If you're into Abe, I love Abe. What influence are you under? So is
Mm-hmm.
it the influence of abundance and the yes and the confidence, or are you in the scarcity, limiting beliefs, doubt? It's like, which one? Choose one. What influence are you under?
I'll take A, Heather.
You're right. Okay, final question for you. What
Yes.
advice would you give your younger self?
I would I would advise my younger self not to stress out about where I'm going to end up, because, when you're in your 20s, and again, I was in finance and Wall Street, go, money, more. And everyone around me thought like that was it. And I look back now and I'm like, that was so not it.
Yeah.
And then in my 30s, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll redefine it and do it a different way. Now in my 40s, I say to myself, I'm a little wiser and been around the block a little more and changed careers and became an entrepreneur and opened multiple businesses. But I would go back and tell myself, it'll all be okay. Don't stress. I'd probably tell myself, don't worry so much about the how and focus on the why. That probably would have saved me, maybe one career, not sure, in finance. I definitely would have done fitness still because it was about helping and healing, and the CBD kind of morphs into that, and that's why I love how it's a great complement. But yeah, I would tell myself, don't get stressed out. Don't worry about minutia. Don't worry about where am I going to be in 20, 30 years. It'll all work itself out, and have faith.
Such a high note to end on. Marc, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.